impeachment trial.
That is right. The House impeachment managers finishing their opening arguments late last night. Now it goes to the defense.
Mike Emanuel is live on Capitol Hill with a look at what the president's team is planning for today. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Griff, Lisa, Pete, good morning to you. Now it is President Trump's legal team's turn. They've been waiting for this opportunity for months.
But you know what it really comes down to? When I just listened to Manager Jeffries at the end there, I was really trying to remove the president from the ballot in 2020. We are, what, 10 and a half months out from an election? And they don't trust the American people to make a decision.
Last night, House Democrats wrapped up 3 days of arguments in favor of impeachment.
From all over the world, they look to us. And increasingly, they don't recognize what they see. They look to us because we have a rule of law. They look to us because no one is above that law. And so I ask you, I implore you, give America a fair trial.
But once again, House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler raised some eyebrows with his language.
This is a determination by President Trump that he wants to be all-powerful. He does not have to respect the Congress. He does not have to respect the representatives of the people. Only his will goes. He is a dictator.
The initial issue this week with Nadler was when he said that Republican senators not in favor of more documents and witnesses would be engaged in a cover-up. That clearly irritated some senators really on both sides of the aisle. Meanwhile, we expect the president's attorneys to kick things off about 10 a.m. Eastern time for about a 3-hour session today. Back to you in New York.
Thanks,
All
Mike.
right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
You wonder whether the Democrats are regretting their decision to bring Jerry Nadler on the team,
Right.
since he's been insulting the very Republican senators whose votes he would need to win over, especially with that comment. But also, you had Adam Schiff saying that the rumor is he's heard in anonymous news sources that Republicans have been told their heads on a pike if they vote against witnesses, vote for witnesses or against the president. And there were audible gasps, even from Murkowski and Collins and others, saying that's not true. If you've offended the people you're trying to convince, bad strategy.
Well, and that's the job of the House managers, to sway the opinions of at least 20 GOP senators to remove the president from office, or even 4 to call witnesses. But the headline today in the New York Times, right there, key GOP senators display few hints of being swayed. That is an unbelievable headline in the New York Times, to admit that the job of the House managers convincing these key moderate Republicans to sway their opinion is not being met. You're not seeing it in the hallways when they go to the mics. They're not indicating that they may be really
You're not even hearing rumors.
But because they're not trying to. That's not the intent here. The intent here is not to try to get to 67 votes in the Senate for a conviction. The intent is not to try to persuade the moderates. Otherwise, we would hear different rhetoric from people like Jerry Nadler and people like Adam Schiff. What happens when you go into someone's house and you criticize them? Of course it's going to offend. Of course it's not going to go awful. So that's not the intent. And also, this entire thing isn't about Ukraine. You had 95 Democrats in the House on July 17th voting to pave the way for impeachment, supporting an Al Green resolution. You had Maxine Waters in May of 2017 calling for the president's impeachment, all before that July 25th phone call with President Zelensky. So it's not about Ukraine. It's not about convincing the moderates. This is just about damaging the president.
I think that's a lot of what you'll hear this morning from the president's lawyers. They say today will be kind of the trailer, the preview, because it's Saturday and not as many eyeballs in the afternoon on the Senate floor. The bulk of their argument will come on Monday, which will be interesting to see how they take that on, because they're not. We don't need another subcommittee foreign affairs hearing on Ukrainian politics. They're going to make the argument that this has always been about getting the president, and we will bring that to you. But
they have 3 days, 8 hours, 3 days. They're saying we really don't need that much time because it's gone on and on. The president was weighing in yesterday saying that this long, drawn-out, as he calls it, witch hunt is not having a positive impact on the American people. Listen to what he had to say.
I think the Republicans are doing a fantastic job. I know and respect and in some cases love the Republican senators. They're fantastic. And I think the whole thing will be over with fairly quickly. They have no case. It's a hoax. Schiff is a corrupt politician. He lies, he cheats, he steals. He's a corrupt politician. He made up my statement in my phone call. That's why I released the transcript. I released a transcript that's perfect. The fact is that it's a horrible partisan witch hunt. And it's been going on for 3 years.
So that was the president.
She looks familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that Rachel Duffy?
Great friend of the show, Rachel Campos. Duffy had a chance to be backstage after the March for Life and asked the president a series of questions, which you'll see exclusively on Fox and Friends this morning. So all morning long, we're going to play more of that interview. Congratulations to Rachel. She did a fantastic job, and you're going to see more of it. But that, again, in Washington, there were two big things going on. You had what was going on in the Senate chamber, and then you had the March for Life, which the president was the first president ever to address that march.
47 years it's been going on, and he is the first to do that. And we gave it ample coverage here at Fox News. Here's a little bit of the president talking there. Listen.
We're here for a very simple reason, to defend the right of every child, born and unborn, to fulfill their God-given potential. Together, we must protect, cherish, and defend the dignity and the sanctity of every human life. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you, and we are fighting for those who have no voice, and we will win because we know how to win.
So something that's so important about what President Trump said, you've got to look at the U.S. Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade. In his majority opinion, you have Justice Harry Blackmun, and this is what he says. He says, if this suggestion of personhood is established, Roe's case, of course, collapses. For the fetus's right to life would be guaranteed specifically by the 14th Amendment. So when you hear people on the left, when you hear people in the media not want to talk about the fact...
President Trump revealing the new Space Force logo, the blue and white symbol representing our country's newest military branch. The president says he worked with military leaders on the design. Some people say it looks very similar to the Starfleet Command logo on Star Trek. I think you might say that.
What say you?
I think they're right. Former show cast member George Takei tweeting that he expects some royalties for the design. Well, maybe they should deserve some credit. They had us thinking, it's Takei. I'm not a viewer of the program, so I pronounced it incorrectly. But maybe they were part of the reason why we're looking so forward to space.
The Pentagon, by the way, put out a statement saying that the design, the Delta symbol, dates back to 1942, and the U.S. Armed Air Forces started using that symbol. So there is a legitimate reasoning for that symbol and tracing its history.
We start our case, and we're going to put on, I believe, without question, a compelling case. As I said, we have two goals. We're going to refute the allegations that they've made, and we're going to put on an affirmative case as well.
President Trump's legal team gearing up for opening arguments in the Senate impeachment trial following 3 marathon days of remarks from Democrats. So what should we expect from their defense? Here to discuss, former White House Cabinet Secretary under President Trump, William McGinley. Bill, good morning to you. Take us inside the president's defense team. What do we expect today?
Good morning, Griff. Thank you for having me. I think a couple of things that we need to note at the outset. First is the Democrats have gotten plaudits for their presentation of their evidence. But what we need to do here is separate style from content. The president's team is going to come out and go directly to the merits of the case. The president did nothing wrong, and expect them to go right to the heart of that issue and demonstrate that. The second issue is they're going to point out the evidentiary and procedural flaws of the House process, but also the gaps in the facts in the presentations made by Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler, and the other House managers. Their presentations, while slick, were riddled with factual errors, misstated the law, and their constitutional theories were wrong. And I would expect the president's attorneys to come out and give a forceful defense of the president, but also point out all of the flaws in their arguments.
Bill, you see in the New York Times a headline I was holding up there saying that key GOP senators display few hints of being swayed. What is your sense when it comes to whether or not we're going to see witnesses?
Because I think the arguments that they were laying out weren't designed to convict and remove the president. Instead, what they were designed to do was inflict political damage in anticipation of November. There's really two audiences that they were trying to play to. One was the senators that were sitting in the well of the Senate, and it's clear based upon the reporting, their arguments were actually counterproductive. They offended senators that they needed to switch over to try and get witnesses. They failed to convince anybody of the merits of their case. And instead what they're doing is they're trying to produce a series of 30-second political points that could be made by the Democratic ad makers in November. This is a flawed strategy. I think it's why you see that the gallery, the reporting says the gallery is half full. The reporting says that the senators that they're trying to sway to either come over to get witnesses or otherwise are actually hardening in the Republican camp because they keep going in and offending the people that they need to actually vote with them. And the other thing is, the American people are tuning this out. We all know that the president is going to be acquitted and exonerated at the end of this trial. This is an outcome-determinative issue. Yep. Instead, they're using it as a political sword against the president.
We shall see. Bill, let me take you to one other topic, and that is the Justice Department revealing it should have ended the surveillance of former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page sooner. The judge in that ruling, Boasberg, saying that if not earlier, there was insufficient predication to establish probable cause to believe that Page was acting as an agent of a foreign power. What say you?
I think this is a very significant story. I think but for the impeachment trial, this would be something that would be leading the headlines across the nation. Remember, the FISA court is something that is operated in secret. Because there's no attorney there to represent the other side, the government has a heightened duty of both candor and accuracy in the information they present to the court to determine whether there's probable cause to conduct the electronic surveillance. It's clear that in this case, both the DOJ and the court have said that the Carter Page warrants, the two that were thrown out, were fatally flawed and are no longer valid.
Well, we'll see. Maybe there's FISA reform on the horizon. I don't know. Bill McGinley, thank you for joining us, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be a busy day, although it's a Saturday. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for having me.
All right. Joe Biden says his administration would punish ICE if they deport illegal immigrants caught driving drunk.
You only arrest for the purpose of dealing with a felony that's committed, and I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
Welcome back. Grab some coffee and stay with us. We got a few headlines for you this morning. The governor of Texas sharing a message to thousands of Californians fleeing their state for Texas. Governor Greg Abbott tweeting in response to a report that shows the number of people moving from California is up 36%. He said, remember those high taxes, burdensome regulations, and socialist agenda advanced in California? Well, we don't believe in that. We believe in less government and more individual freedom. If you agree with that, you'll fit right in. Good for Texas. And the NYPD police commissioner is blaming the recent crime spike on New York's new bail reform laws.
In the first 3 weeks of this year, we're seeing significant spikes in crime. If you let out individuals that commit a lot of crime, that's precision policing in reverse. And we're seeing the effects in a very quick time, and that is why we are so concerned.
Makes sense to me. Since the start of the year, robberies are up in the city more than 32%. Car theft up 61%. Burglaries 18% compared to last year. And Bill de Blasio wanted to be our president. Lisa, down to you.
Thanks, Pete. 2020 hopeful Joe Biden going after ICE, saying the agency should not deport drunk driving illegal immigrants and threatening agents with punishment if they do. Listen.
The culture. You change the culture by saying you're going to get fired. You're fired if, in fact, you do that. You only arrest for the purpose of dealing with a felony that's committed, and I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
Marianne Mendoza joins us now. Hi, Marianne.
Good morning.
So, first of all, our hearts absolutely break for you, but this is deeply personal for you. When you hear something like that from the former vice president, what goes through your mind?
That he's suggesting he's going to fire law enforcement officers for upholding our laws. He's suggesting that he's going to continue letting illegal alien criminals drive drunk in our country. It's been, Democrats support illegal alien crime in our country. They provide sanctuary from our laws. They provide them with so many benefits that American citizens don't get. And the list of angel families is growing daily in this country. And quite frankly, we're all sick of being ignored by Democrats. And I'm pretty disgusted that our loved ones have become collateral damage in their illegal alien criminal first agenda that they've got going on. We're tired of being ignored. There are tens of thousands of innocent American victims who have been killed by illegal alien drunk drivers in this country. Over 80,000 of DUIs from illegal aliens were arrested by ICE in 1 year, and that doesn't even count the additional 76,000 other traffic violations that they have done. So they're dangerous drivers. They have a tendency to drive drunk. They don't realize, they don't assimilate to our society and know that this isn't what you do.
And Marianne, why do you think that is? You mentioned, this rhetoric we've seen from Joe Biden, this embrace from some on the left for illegal immigrants. Why is that?
Because they're grasping at straws for a voter base at this point. They have promised these people, they're enticing them with all these free benefits that they're promising them. Sanctuary from our laws, free health care, free higher education, all the things they're promising the illegal aliens who are flooding our borders, which they don't even provide for their fellow American citizens. So they're holding them on a higher platform. Like I said earlier, their illegal alien criminal first agenda
and Marianne,
over their fellow American citizens.
And we're seeing, there was this Honduran migrant who was deported from the United States, and I want you to listen to something that he said, and then I want to get your reaction. Listen.
My idea is to go to Tijuana, and in Tijuana I'm going to go ahead and try to make a living until Trump leaves the office. Once he leaves the office, hopefully everything is...
How effective have the president's policies been?
I think they've been successful, very successful, and we cannot allow the Democrats to take control of the administration or have the majority in the House or the Senate, because this open borders, everybody come into our country mentality that they have is what's going to continue.